Greetings all, Joe here, and we're going to brew some beer today. So last time I mentioned that I was going to use an extract. Well, I decided since I have all this grain sitting around, might as well use it. Instead of, using basically that bag of flour or whatever, um, I took some some pale malt, and took a little food processor, to substitute as a mill, and we're going to use that for our mash to make our wort. Here is the unmilled grain on the right and the milled grain on the left. So it's not perfect, but neither is anything, especially in these times with everything going on. What I'm doing today, I'm kind of doing a little experiment. It's going to be a pale ale, but with German hops. I had all these Saaz hops laying around, and like I've mentioned in class, I've got a big taste for European, especially German style hops. I know that it was very polarizing for y'all in class. On the Czech Pilsner Urquell that we tried, it was very polarizing. Roughly about half of y'all hated it, but a lot of y'all didn't. So that's my taste. I'm gonna be the one who's drinking it. So obviously, I'm making beer for me, and I invite everybody to make beer that you like. As far as additional ingredients that a lot of people are excited about, like cherries, strawberries. I think there was a couple people who wanted to throw some spices in there, like cloves and all sorts of fun stuff. The only thing that I'm adding in there is nothing. I like just the taste of grains, hops, water, yeast. I'm kind of a purist. So, once again, I'm making beer for me, so I'm going to make stuff that I like. What we have here on this side, which y'all really can't see too well, so I'll adjust it. I went ahead and set up my 3 hop cycles. So what we have right here is first my cycle of bittering hops, which all these are the same hops, it's just slightly different measurements. 2 ounces of Saaz hops that we're going to add first in the boil. 2 ounces of flavor hops, which are also Saaz hops. Then finally, the aroma hops, another 2 ounces of aroma hops we're going to put in the last 5 minutes. So in case you forgot, this is what hops look like. Shout out to all you potheads, because y'all are probably breaking some up right now. But here we have a scale for measuring all that stuff out. Right now I've got some wort being made, or basically the mash process happening right now. Originally, all of this barley, this is all starch. So we need to turn all this starch into sugar. So we want to get this at an even temperature between about 145 to 150 and maintain that temperature for at least an hour or so. So right now, let's see what we're at. Well, it's probably hard for y'all to see, but we're about 140, kind of creeping up there. But I'm just gonna keep an eye on this like a hawk, since I'm just using a little funky electric stove here in my little small apartment. It's actually a big apartment, but my kitchen is tiny. Whenever you're brewing beer or any kind of fermented product, it's temperature control, temperature control, temperature control, and sanitation, which is just important, but I'll get into that in the next step. Just some other stuff that I have laying around. Obviously, I have a big gallon measuring bucket. This is 3 gallons inside this stock pot. Obviously, you want a good thermometer. I have a little saucepan ready for activating yeast whenever we have time to pitch the yeast. Down here, this is my sanitation bucket, and we have our cooling coil, that copper coil that's going to reduce the temperature quickly after we finish our boil. That is in there in sanitizer. So what you use for sanitation purposes for basically everything that you touch is actually iodine. So iodine's a really good food safe sanitizer, and it will play nice with the yeast and all the other ingredients that we're using. So that's pretty much a standard method, or the standard chemical that we use to keep everything sanitary. I'll be back whenever we're ready to start the boil.